Now, the custom of war is that if the girl belongs to a powerful family, that family can choose to ransom her back, and you have to give her back, okay? Now, it turns out that Agamemnon likes his girl, but she's the daughter of a powerful priest. And the priest says, give me back my girl and I'll give you a lot of money. And Agamemnon says, no, I like her and I'm lonely, so screw off. So this priest gets angry and prays to Apollo. And Apollo unleashes a plague on the Greeks. And everyone's dying, okay? And so Achilles discovers what's happened and he confronts Agamemnon in a war council. And he says, Agamemnon, you have to give the girl back or else we're all going to die here. And Agamemnon says, fine, I will give her back, but only on the condition that I take your girl. And of course, Achilles is pissed off. He's like, that's not fair. And Agamemnon's like, too bad, I'm king. And so Achilles says, fine, but I will never fight for you ever again. I'm going to let the Trojans destroy you here. I'm the greatest warrior in the world. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let the Trojans destroy you, okay? So after that meeting, Achilles goes to his mother, who's a goddess. Her name is Thetis, and she's a river goddess. And Achilles says to Thetis, listen, mother, could you help me out? Could you tell Zeus to help the Trojans? The reason why is I want the Greeks to lose so that they beg me to save them. I came to Troy to be a hero. So let the Trojans win, and then I'll come and save the Greeks, and I'll be a great hero. So that's what Thetis does. And Hector, who is the prince of Troy, okay, he's brother to Paris, he discovers that Achilles is absent from the battlefield. So he leads the Trojans against the Greeks, and they're destroying the Greeks. They're at the point where, they've almost reached the Greek ships, and they want to burn down the Greek ships because if they do that, the Greeks cannot resupply themselves, and they will all die in Troy. And so at this point, Odysseus and the other Greeks say to Agamemnon, you know what? We need Achilles. Please, please get Achilles back into the battlefield. And Agamemnon says, fine. Tell him this. Tell him I will give him my daughter in marriage. I will give him all the treasure in the world if he comes and fights for us. So Odysseus and the Greeks go to Achilles and says, please, please, please help us. And Achilles says, nope. Why? Because Agamemnon's not here. Where's Agamemnon, man? I don't need his daughter. I don't need all this money in the world. I'm going to die anyway in battle, so screw off, okay? So now Achilles and Agamemnon are stuck because Achilles wants Agamemnon to apologize, but Agamemnon doesn't want to lose face. So there's a real threat that the Trojans will destroy the entire Greek army, okay? And they're about to reach the ships and burn down the ships. And Achilles is watching this, and he's like, why aren't the Greeks coming and begging me again, okay? He wants the Greeks to constantly beg him so he can say no. And the Greeks are like, we know that, so we're not going to come. So then what happens is Achilles, he's so nervous that he sends Patroclus, who is his lieutenant, to go talk to the Greeks and say, hey man, what's going on? Do you need Achilles' help? And the Greeks say to him, Patroclus, we know Achilles, he's got this terrible temper, he's not going to come save us, but maybe you can save us, Patroclus. And Patroclus says, yes, I can be the hero now. So he runs back to Achilles and says, Achilles, you asshole, we're all going to die here, let me go fight. And Achilles is like, fine, you can go fight, but only on the condition that you just save the ships and you do not push the Trojans back to Troy, okay? That's my glory. Do not steal my glory. So of course what Patroclus does is he tries to win all the glory for himself. He forces a duel between himself and Hector, and Hector kills Patroclus. Now Achilles is pissed off, and Achilles is like, screw this, I'm going to go kill Hector. Okay, so now Agamemnon and Achilles are best friends because they both want to kill Hector. Achilles duels Hector, kills him, and he is now the greatest warrior in the world. He's proven himself to be the greatest hero in the world. He's saved the Greeks. He's killed Hector. He's avenged his friend Patroclus. He should be the happiest man in the world, right? and this is the genius Homer, he now falls into a deep depression. He mutilates Hector's body. He ties Hector's body to his chariot and rides around the city of Troy. And all the Trojans are screaming in horror. The gods are like, this is disgusting, man. The Greeks are like, no, man, this is a war crime. We don't want to get involved, okay? Achilles is going crazy. He can't sleep. He can't eat. All he can do is mutilate Hector's body. All right? So now the gods are watching this and saying, you know what? We shouldn't allow this because this is a war crime. And Hector was always a good subject. So let's broker a peace between Achilles and Priam, who is the father of Hector. Okay? Because in this world, it's important to bury the dead. Because only by burying the dead can they find eternal peace. Okay? So Priam wants a body back. So Priam himself cannot sleep, and both Achilles and Priam agree to this deal. The gods send Priam into Achilles' tent. And Achilles is busy, okay? Achilles is distracted, and Priam is sitting next to him. And at this point, what Priam can do is take a dagger and stab Achilles in the neck and avenge his son, right? What he does instead is he kneels down before Achilles and kisses his hand. He submits himself before Achilles. And Achilles is so awed by this that he recognizes that Priam is the greater hero. That Priam has more courage than he does. And now Achilles submits to Priam. And the two forgive each other and weep together. And this is how the Iliad ends. Okay? This is a story that tells us that the real battlefield is not out there in the shores of Troy. The real battle is inside our human heart. Okay? Why does Achilles fall into depression? Because he himself knows he's the one guilty for killing of Patroclus. Maybe it was Hector who killed Patroclus, but it was Achilles who made it possible. Why? Because number one, Achilles didn't have to get in a stupid fight with Agamemnon, okay? Number two is, when the Greeks came to beg, Achilles could have said yes, okay? And then number three is, Achilles did not have to send Patroclus into battle. So Achilles knows in his heart that he was guilty. And as such, he could not forgive himself. And so he fell into depression. And so Priam, by forgiving Achilles, allowed Achilles to forgive himself. Okay? So it's a problem of forgiveness. And this is the hardest problem in human society. How do you forgive those who've done wrong to you? And how do you forgive yourself for doing wrong unto others? This is the hardest problem in human society. If you can solve this problem, you can now create a great civilization. That's what Homer did, okay? Homer showed us that this is the greatest problem in the human heart. And when we forgive each other, we make the world anew. We rejuvenate the world. We change the world from one of destruction into one of vitality. Okay? Priam, by sacrificing himself, by having the courage to forgive Achilles, changed the destiny of himself and his son Hector, because Achilles gave Hector back and told Priam, not only will I give your son back, but I will make sure that you have enough time to ensure a proper funeral for Hector. Achilles himself will ensure the Greeks will not attack Troy during the funeral. Okay? And that's the beauty and power of the Iliad. It is the most shocking ending ever. It's the most beautiful, the most poignant, the most tragic ending ever. Even today, we cannot match it. So the question now is, how is it that Homer and the Greeks had such wisdom, and today we don't? And the answer is, their minds were different back then than they are today. Okay? So let me explain why. Okay, so you know from psychology that we have two hemispheres in the brain, okay? A right hemisphere and a left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is the creative, emotional, caring hemisphere. The left is the logical, analytical, utilitarian hemisphere, okay? So right does art, maybe left does math. Okay, we know this from simple psychology. Now, there's an American psychologist named Julian James. And he proposes a really interesting theory. His theory is, actually what's happening is the right hemisphere is receiving information from the universe, vibrations from the universe. And the left hemisphere is interpreting this information into reality. Okay? All right? So remember, we discussed Kant. What does Immanuel Kant say? Immanuel Kant says that there are two realities, the noumena, the world, the things in themselves, and the phenomena, the things to us. Okay? So what happens is that our brain interacts with the noumena and then filters it back into the phenomena, okay? And it uses a filter, time and space, in order to perceive things, okay? Hegel says that this noumena is the Geist, okay, the universe. And as we discussed, the universe are just vibrations, okay? Vibrations. And so, if you apply all this to this theory, what's happening is our right brain is receiving these vibrations. And then our left brain is just transforming these vibrations into everyday reality, okay? Then the question then is, how do we interpret these vibrations? Well, for most of human history, we've interpreted them as just gods and spirits. Okay? And even though it's not factual, it is truthful in that it allows us to better understand the universe, and it better allows us to understand ourselves, okay? By embracing this model of the brain, we have access to wisdom, okay? The wisdom of Homer and the Greeks. And that's why back then, the Greeks are much more creative and wise than we are today, okay? Does that make sense? Okay? Because what we've done today is we've shut off this part by saying, nope, all that matters is science, logic, and materialism. Okay? So we've shut down the right brain. And we only use the left brain today. That's why we are less creative. Right? So that's the argument I will make to you today. All right. Let's continue. All right, the Great Big Bang, the beginning of Greek civilization. All right, so this is Julian James, okay? And he wrote a book called The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Brain. Okay, the bicameral mind is just the left and right hemisphere. And these two work together. The right is the receiver of the universe. The left is the interpreter of the universe. All right, so he gives an example of this. Okay, why is it that in ancient times, when kings died, we buried them with lots and lots of gifts? We buried them as though they were still alive. And the answer is, from our perspective, they were still alive, okay?